Good to see you all. It's been a whole year since the last FP Talks, and it's great to have the community together. So welcome, first of all, of course, welcome all of our speakers. And then, of course, welcome everyone who is participating as well. I hope you enjoy these talks. I personally am super excited for them. This is your first time to FP Bench, then I'm going to give like a brief intro here of what we're all about. If it's not your first time, then you'll have a pretty good idea of what FP Bench is about. So we're all about numerics. We're about numerics spanning from hardware to software, spanning from theory to applications. We're interested in numerics anywhere it's used, whether it's robotics or graphics or machine learning. And we'll get a hint of that diversity at the talks today. At least I hope so. We're basically all here because you probably know this, numerics is important. It's getting increasingly important over time as people find new and exciting ways to apply it, whether again, that's robotics or graphics or machine learning or climate science or simulation or all these other domains where people are applying numerics, running into new problems and new ways of fixing them. And then, of course, that means there's a huge opportunity also by working on numerics to make an impact in the world. And actually, one of my favorite things working in numerics is getting to talk to folks applying it in all sorts of interesting domains, right? Domains where I didn't even know. I get to learn something about science or about the climate or about whatever it is that they're working on. So given like how important numerics is, the idea of FP Talks and FP Bench is kind of combine these pieces, combine theory and application, combine hardware and software. And the idea is our FP Bench formula is that if you put these together, maybe there's some rounding error, but you're pretty close to getting some new advances in numerics, sparking ideas, getting people talking to each other, initializing new collaborations. So that's what we're here to do. That's the big plan. Let me tell you a little bit about the FP Bench project that kind of hosts this event. It's a project that's probably getting close to a decade old at this point. And the idea is to do some community building in the numerics community and also put together some community resources that numerics researchers can make use of. So the community building has become kind of the big focus of the project. And that's stuff like the Slack, which hopefully all of you are on. It's where what we'll be using to do question and answers for this FP Talks. But it's also a place that you can ask questions or post papers or ask for help with someone else's tool even outside of this conference. We also hold these monthly FP Bench community meetings. These are the first Thursday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And these are kind of lightweight, informal venues where you can give demos, you can discuss some ongoing work. We've had some excellent discussions on topics like teaching. We've also had fantastic demos of all sorts of new tools or problems that people have run into. I remember Schwabe from Adobe had an excellent talk on some experiments they'd done to try to validate a selection of libraries. So those can be a lot of fun. And we still have slots open for that, I think, in December. So if you're interested in talking to one of those, do get in touch with me or with Zach. And then also, of course, we have this FP Bench workshop. I don't need to say too much about it because you are at it, but this is the fourth time we're hosting it. And I think we've refined the formula over time, and I'm pretty excited about it. So this is one thing that FP Bench is doing, hold these community building events. And then the other thing that FP Bench is about is collecting some community resources. So for example, we've got a collection of benchmarks. These are standardized. We have them cross-linked to papers where they're used in. There's quite a diversity of different floating point operations used in different cases, come from different domains. And these have been used in quite a number of papers right now. And it says 30 plus papers, and that's probably growing every year that I put this up. There's also a directory of floating point tools. So this is maintained by Mike Lamb, who I saw here just a moment ago. And that's got a list of different floating point tools with links to resources like papers, GitHub repos, and also tracks a bit of the status of the tool. So if you're kind of new to floating point, you're looking for a tool that can do a particular thing, or even if you're looking for like related work to compare some project you're working on, that's a great place to look. And then finally, we have some standards. We've written up some standardized benchmark formats, some standardized benchmark measurements, for mixed precision computations, for tensor computations. So that's helpful if you're developing a tool. That can be a good input format for you to make use of. So that's the idea of FP Bench, and of course, hopefully this workshop is maybe an intro to the project for all of you who are new to it. You can find out more of that on fpbench.org. So that's where the talk schedule is posted, and then the rest of the site has all these other resources and links to these community building activities. So let me tell you a little bit about the schedule. We have 3 sessions, one starting at 8, one starting at 9:30, and one starting at 11. And then in between those, there'll be half-hour breaks. Those half-hour breaks, I'll still be here. The Zoom will be on. Discussion will continue on Slack. And if previous FPTalks workshops are any hint, you'll see some discussion ongoing for some of the first session talks during those breaks. But of course, it's also a good time to, brew a new pot of coffee or whatever you need to do. So just some quick logistics around that. Please keep your microphone muted. Of course, you've done these before. If you have questions, I'll be posting a thread in the FPTalks 23 channel for every talk that you have. And if you have questions for the speaker, just put them in there. It's much easier to do that as the talk is going. The moment a question pops into your head. When the speaker's done, there will be a Q&A session for people who want to ask their questions out loud. But the thread of questions on Slack, that'll continue. And we've often had that turn into ongoing discussions in previous FPTalks. And then, of course, I think Zach pointed this out, but maybe you've just joined. These talks are all being recorded. They're also being live streamed to YouTube. So all of the talks will end up on YouTube. If you miss a talk, you have to teach a class, you have to step out for some reason, you can find those on YouTube right after the talk. If anything goes wrong, you can contact me. I'm at Pavel Panchekha on the Slack, or you can ask in this channel #support, which you may have automatically been joined to. But I don't want to take up too much more of the time. Point of this was just to say welcome and then to transition us to our first session. So let me quit out of this.